Good evening. Welcome to Love Talk. My name is Gregory Morgan. We work with people to get them to a place where they are fundamentally connected with their own core values. And by core values, I simply mean those things which make you who you are, your identity, and ultimately your purpose in life, your spiritual purpose in life. A lot of people maybe have a little bit of an issue with the word spiritual, and when I'm talking about spiritual, I'm not talking about any kind of religious background. I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about that energetic essence that is true to you and me, that thing that, well, when it's gone from your body, they say you're dead. When it's alive in your body, when it's fully self-expressed, when it's dancing and filled with energy and love, and we say you're full of spirit, or you're inspired, which is another way of saying in spiritus, in spirit. So when I talk about spiritual purpose or spiritual identity, I'm not talking about any particular religious background. I'm referring to that essence of who you are, why you're here, what's your real purpose in this lifetime? What is it that you came here to accomplish, to fulfill, to express? Whatever that is, that essence. If the world doesn't hear your song, read your book, your poem, have your dance, then the world would be a much poorer place. Only you can bring that, whatever that is that you came to bring. The world is hungry for that. The world needs that. I'll be talking with you today about different levels of change. There's different levels of change, and I've brought with me something for you to look at. It's called a neurological levels. There are levels of expression and barriers that we have to our full self-expression, and each of us, I'm sorry, but you don't come into this life without running into these barriers and having some of these, I call them filters, okay? There's another way of looking at them, is that they're levels, or there are filters to, or layers to your full self-expression of who you are, why you're here, and living a fully expressed, joyous life full of love and purpose. So that's what the show's about. That's what Love Talk is about, because when you experience that, you experience a true expression of love. That's who you truly are. And so I spoke of different levels of change or personal development. Whenever we're troubled in our relationships, when we're stuck in our lives, one of the first things that come to us is, well, I'll change my environment. I'll go someplace else. I'll move to a different house. I'll get another job, another husband, another wife, boyfriend or girlfriend. We change the environment, and your environment really is made up of the people in your life. I'm not just talking about your house and your car and your job. Certainly all of those things make up your environment. And it's true that some of those things may need to be changed. You know, if you are suffering, are held back or entrapped by some kind of addiction, then you're probably surrounded by people who have a similar addiction. You know, smokers hang out with smokers. They meet outside the building in the smoking place, and they like to get together and smoke. Nothing wrong with that. It's just that if you want to stop smoking, you got to stop hanging out with people that are constantly lighting up, that smell like tobacco, that are carrying tobacco around or offering you tobacco. So obviously, if it's gambling or sexual addiction or drug addiction or alcohol, then you might need to change environment. So it turns out that environment is really the lowest possible level of change. The next level is behavior. So you can change your environment, but you obviously, if you don't change your behavior, if there's not a transformation in your behavior, then the same old things that have always held you back will eventually have you recreate, descend a level back down into that same old environment. How many of you, me included, have wanted to change something in our life, but we didn't want to get rid of our friends, our good old buddies, the people that we always hang out with, so we try to change our behavior, but we keep the same environment, and we find out that nothing changes. So if you want to really make a transformation or a change in your life, something that is not working, and you have to change not only your environment, but your behavior. Now, that takes us to the next level, which is the level of capabilities. You know, some people simply are not capable of making a change. They're not able to. They need to make a change on the level of their capabilities. Now this is where you go to classes, workshops, take a course, get into some other kind of a group or environment where you can learn new skills. Obviously, and that is one of the things that most addicts or people in addictive relationships, relationships can be very addictive. In fact, in talking about romantic relationships with people, one of the things that I have discovered is that addictive relationships pretty much are the only kind of relationships that we have to model from. By addictive relationships, I mean the kind of relationships in which you find yourself feeling stuck, feeling that it is affecting you adversely, either in your health, your mental, emotional, physical, financial well-being is affected by a relationship. When it's adversely or negatively affected by a relationship that you're in, and yet you find that you are incapable of escaping from that relationship. There's some ability to change or shift that is missing for you. So it's not enough to simply change behavior or to change your environment. You also need to change your capabilities or your ability to behave differently. So that may require getting therapy, going to classes, gaining new skills and abilities that you had not previously had. All of this is destined to not change anything but to cycle through ultimately. Changes or transformations that take place only on the level of environment, behavior, and capability are always destined to fail as far as I can see. And again, I'm speaking from my own experience. I'm speaking from working with thousands of people over the last 30 years. I've been working with people, including myself, to transform people's lives and to transform my own life. And by transformation, I mean it's never the same again and it can't go back to being that way. I'm not talking about temporary change. So throughout this talk, I've been talking about change, and change happens on these lower three levels that you see on the chart here. On the level of environment, behavior, and capability, I call those changes. And change is something that is going to happen anyway. It's not a breakthrough, and it's not transformation. And if you'll notice, all of those three lower ones are in the external world. In other words, you can see environment. If you took a picture of it, you can see behavior. If you took a video of it, and you can see capabilities, they're all measurable, externally manifested parts of who we are. Now I want to move to the internal world. A human being is made up of something that's inside of us, and all true change comes from within. And then there's our outer world, or how that's showing up in the outer environment. Yes? So you can change the environment all you want, and what is predictable, pretty much predictable, is that it'll begin to look like more, better, or different of the same environment. The same, more, better, or different. You can improve your behavior, but it'll be some kind of other new, better version of the same old behavior. And you can change your capabilities and you can learn new skills, but even with those new skills, you will always be working against your own environment and behavior. I want to talk about beliefs and values. Beliefs and values are where the beginning of transformation takes place. And when I speak of transformation, I'm not talking about more or better or different of something that used to be. I'm talking about a complete transformation, something that can never be the same again. Talked about in this show before, I've talked about cyclical change, meaning change that goes in a cycle, and then I've talked about structural change. So change that goes in a cycle is more like an apple seed turning into a plant, and that plant turning into a tree, and that tree turning into apples, which eventually turn back into apple seed. That's cyclical change. It's life going through cycles, and human beings do this too. I'm not talking about cyclical change. And then a structural change is something more like a tree falls into a swamp 10,000 years ago, gets pressure and heat piled upon it, and turns into carbon. That carbon then gets more pressure and heat piled upon it, and centuries and centuries and centuries later turns into a diamond. Okay? Now, same substance, used to be a tree. Now it's a diamond. That can never go back the other direction. Do you understand? That is a structural change. And so I'm using that metaphor to demonstrate what transformation is like. Transformation in a human being is where you become a more sophisticated, more refined, more complex. Is it true that a diamond is more complex than a tree? Yes. Is it true that it is a more sophisticated structure? Yes. Is it true that a diamond is more complicated or complex? Yes. So it is more complex, more sophisticated, and more refined version of the same thing. However, it can never go back to being what it was before. And human beings, when they go through a transformational process, become something other than they've ever been before and can never go back to being that old way again. So the work that we do at Embrace Growth in our seminars and in our workshop and in our private sessions is the work of transformation. Now, just like a diamond, it requires a certain amount of heat and pressure, yes? It requires a certain environment of integrity. It requires a certain context where there is an agreement going into it. That we're not just going to pump you up and make you feel better and have you leave here with some new capabilities and behaviors. We're not trying to change your behavior. Now, most of therapies that you would go to would be in an attempt to alter your behavior. There's a whole field of therapies, many kinds, that are aimed at behavioral modification. And sometimes, let me tell you something, that's the best you can do with somebody. You know, when that's what we do with criminals. We change their environment. Yes, we put them in prison and we change their environment. Then we attempt to change their behavior and we teach them new skills and stuff and we attempt to change their capabilities. But we have not changed who they are as a human being. It's still the same person that created that crime behaving differently in a different environment with new capabilities. But we haven't altered the internal aspect of that person unless they have gone through some kind of a transformation while in there. And in that environment, let's say the prison environment, it's very unlikely to experience a spiritual transformation because that environment is not designed for that. That environment is designed to give you a different behavior, to cause you to behave differently. Taking it out of that arena and bringing it into our everyday life, let's talk about your environment that you grew up in, and people behaved in their relationships in a particular way, yes? They behaved in a way that I'm going to call, for the most part, unless you had very transformed parents and family, for the most part, it's a safe bet for me to say that you grew up in an environment with addictive relationships, codependent addictive relationships that, by definition, did not include transformation. Codependent relationships do not include you ever changing to becoming something more, better, more of who you really are. Codependent relationships mostly are focused on keeping you disempowered, limited, and having you behave in a particular manner so that the addictive behavior can continue to foster and manifest in that environment. To transform those type of relationships, you need to go up to the next level. And that is that you need to change something on the core, in the interior. And that's where beliefs and values take place. On the level of your beliefs and your values, what it is that you personally believe and what it is that you personally value, then transformation has an environment that it can begin to take place. Isn't it true that a belief is simply something that you are convinced is true? Yes? So a belief is something that you convinced is true. Your values are attached to your beliefs because whatever you believe, you will value. In other words, one of the strongest driving forces that we have as human beings, is the drive to be congruent with our beliefs. The drive to be, we are driven to find evidence for that which we believe, to be congruent with our value. Another way that corresponds to your values. So what you are mostly always doing, what you value. when a person's beliefs are changed or transformed, their values are transformed. And automatically, everything below that will transform as well. When your beliefs about who you are and what is possible for you and what your purpose is in the world begin to transform, then you have had a transformation on the level of identity. Identity is who you believe that you are. Who you believe you are is who you really are. You only can be who you believe you are. You're convinced that, so those people that think, well, okay, I'm stupid, or I'm smart, I'm no good, or I'm unworthy. Those are beliefs that people carry around inside their lives that they have received or taken in from, you could call it conditioning, from their immediate environment. Again, the lowest possible level. So they begin to behave in a way that is congruent with that environment and those beliefs. The thought that I'm unworthy, or something's wrong with me, or I'm not good enough, or I am unlovable, those kind of beliefs, pretty much every human being that I've ever met has some version of that deep in the core, like something's wrong with me, something's wrong here, I don't fit in, I'm not good enough, I'm unlovable. And then they begin to act in accordance with that, and then their very capabilities, what they're capable of doing, they never what they're truly capable of doing, they never actually discover, because they are driven, you and I are driven to act in a way that corresponds to our beliefs and our values. Many people think your thoughts, your feelings, your emotions, your opinions, and your beliefs are all taking place only in the brain. And while the brain is certainly a control system for all of that, it is actually throughout your entire body. Your entire neurological system stores and encodes information and data about your beliefs, your values, who you think you are, and even your capabilities. And if you want to test that on yourself, think about if you know how to ride a bicycle, for example, or swim, or drive a car, walk upstairs while talking on the phone. Those kinds of things that we do automatically are stored in your neurology. If you've played an instrument like a piano, you read the music and you practice, but at those moments while you're reading and practicing, you're actually encoding your neurological system with particular sequences and patterns. And then later, when you get really good at it, for example, you can drive a car while you're doing other things, talking and putting on makeup, which I wish you guys wouldn't do. But you can do multiple things at once because your neurological system has stored these capabilities, these behaviors. They are in response to the things going on in your environment all around you at all times. So I've been talking about transformation, which takes place on the most fundamental of levels. And I want to go ahead and talk about how your beliefs and values are ultimately brought about, give you who you are. They give you your identity. How we know who you are is by what you believe and what you value. In other words, when you point to yourself and you go, well, I'm just that way, or that's just me. When we refer to ourselves in that sense, or when we ask somebody about so-and-so, when somebody's asking about you, they say, what about this person? What do you know about them? And then your friend or whoever will talk about you as an identity. Now I'm going to talk about that, because you can literally transform your identity, who you consider yourself to be. You can literally transform who you know yourself to be on the level of identity. And when you change on the level of identity, your beliefs about who you are will have to change. And they will. Your beliefs will change, your values will change, and so automatically what you're capable of doing, your capabilities will shift, and you will discover that you have capabilities far beyond anything that you've ever imagined. And your behavior will just be congruent with that. You will begin to behave in correspondence to your beliefs and values and your identity about yourself. And that will automatically change your environment, the people you hang out with, the home you live in, the kind of job or career that you have. Even if you stay in the same home, in the same house, in the same family, all of that will begin to shift and change, because there will be things that you will no longer be able to support, who will just simply fall away because you're no longer the same person. And the highest level of transformation, and what all of our work here is about at Embrace Growth, and the kind of transformational workshops and seminars that we do, present to their spiritual purpose in life. Ultimately, when you are aligned with your true identity, your true spiritual purpose, like why you're here, automatically everything below that comes into alignment with it. Now, it doesn't mean like, boom, that happens automatically. It doesn't mean, no, you never have any problems again for the rest of your life. It doesn't mean your car doesn't break down, or that you don't need to go to work for money anymore. It doesn't mean any of that. It doesn't mean that you won't ever have disagreements with the people in your life. No, what it means is that you will gain a newfound ability to be true to yourself, to your true inner purpose, and behave and act accordingly automatically. Limiting beliefs about yourself simply fall away. Your ability to be able to be true to yourself increases exponentially, so that you're no longer trying to be true to yourself. Many of us from time to time in our life have had a simple, a brief glimpse. I call it like little flashes or moments of enlightenment. A brief glimpse of who you truly are, who you really are, and what you're really here for. And then, if you're like me, you may have noticed that those go away. They last for a while, maybe a day or two, maybe a second or two, or 5 minutes. But each of us have had those moments, those glimpses of true identity, of true self, in which we really were clear about why we were here and what we were about. And if you have never had those moments, it's good that you're watching this show, because I recommend that you begin to put yourself in the type of environment with the type of people who would encourage and bring out those kinds of moments in you. But if you've ever had one of those kinds of moments, and what I call those peak experience or enlightening moments, where it was just all really clear and then it went away, I'm talking about working with people such that they get completely grounded in their purpose, their spiritual purpose in life, such that their entire identity shifts. Who they are in the world shifts. And when you see that, and I get to see it in our seminars and workshops and in private work and the breakthrough sessions that I do with my clients, your whole body changes. The facial expressions change, the voice changes, the eyes change, the language changes. And in other words, there is a complete transformation of who the person's being. Sometimes it's almost not recognizable from one day to the next. It's very rapid how a person begins to shift. Now, maybe they go buy different clothes and they get their hair done or whatever. Sometimes there's some outer changes that people make, but those changes are a reflection of something that's happened inside of them. It's not just like, trying to paint yourself up and look better on the outside. Those outer expressions of who you are true to an inner core, and you can see the difference. You can see the difference in a human being when they've made a shift inside. The way they carry themselves, the way they talk, what it is that they're talking about, the things that they're concerned about, how they behave. All of those things begin to shift when there's been a spiritual transformation in somebody's life. I see the women going into the workshop. I see them registering. I'm there setting up the room and greeting them when they first come into the workshop. And then I see them at the end of the workshop. Most of them are just completely unrecognizable. I had the pleasure of running into one of the women who was in the workshop just last night, and the transformation between last night and this morning was phenomenal. I hardly recognized her. I was shocked when she got off the elevator. I was like, wow. There's it's like a light is coming out of them, and they look extraordinary, and they seem happy and fulfilled, and it's just very powerful to deal with a woman who is fully in the presence of her own awesome potential as a woman. It's a real pleasure for men. So women, if you've ever thought about doing these workshops with my wife, I got to tell you, it's the best gift that you could give to your husbands and your sons and your co-workers and your daughters is the best gift that you could give if you're a woman to the men in the world, but more especially to yourself. The issues that are brought into these workshops disappear, never to come up again. I truly believe that the future of our civilization and our culture and relationships are in the hands of the women today. We've been talking about really getting in touch with what is your purpose in life and how does that show up in your relationships, in your everyday life. Have you inherited limiting beliefs from your environment? Have you inherited old behaviors that just don't work for you? So if that's the case, then this is an opportunity for you to really go into an inquiry with me. It's not like I'm going to give you tips and techniques and everything is going to be perfect in your life. However, I have the ability to hear what is behind the questions many times. Hear what is the identity, that the beliefs and the values that are driving some of the issues in your life. And I'd like to have an opportunity to work with you on that. Many people have also asked me, especially the women coming out of women-only workshops and the advanced women-only workshops, have asked me, don't you have anything that you do for the men? What about the men? Now that we've had these transformations, we're going back to the men in our lives, our sons and co-workers and fathers and husbands, and they haven't had the insights and the transformations that we've had. How can we share this with them? The lines are starting to light up. I'm going to go ahead and take some calls and we'll get back to that. Hello, this is Gregory. You are live on the air with Love Talk.
Yeah, I lived with my husband.
Yes.
For 30 years. She cheated me.
He cheated on you after being married for 30 years?
Yes. And
is that the first time?
I came to Canada.
Yes.
And I live with my children.
Yes.
But we don't get divorced.
Left your husband, you came to Canada, and you're still married to him.
Yeah.
I got it.
Yeah.
So how can I help you?
I don't know what can I do for myself because I go to college.
Yes.
Everything is fine. I'm fine with my children.
Yeah.
But my mind is very confused about that. I don't know what can I do for myself. I'm feeling about cheating, everything.
Okay, well, do you want to stay married to your husband?
Yes, I'm don't get married yet, don't get divorced yet, but I don't know.
Do you want to live with your husband?
No, he's in my country.
Yes, I understand where he's in Iran and you're in Canada, but my question is, do you want to live with him?
Sometimes I think yes.
Okay, I understand.
Sometimes, I have 3 children.
Okay, but they're adults now, yes?
Yes.
Okay, so they're not children, they're adults.
Yes, adults. But
they're not your children anymore.
After divorce, I don't know what can I do because I'm alone here, but the children grown up.
You need to make a decision.
Yes.
Yeah, after 30 years, it's like to be separated from somebody that you were together with for 30 years. There are so many neurological connections. In other words, your entire body is used to the sound of his voice, his smell, his touch, hearing his footsteps on the floor, conversations that you've had, the physical presence of this person. So it's like a part of you now. Do you understand?
Yeah.
You've had his children. Like you have bonded in a very permanent kind of way. Once you've had children with somebody, it's sort of a lifelong bond that will never go away, no matter what. Regardless of your age, regardless of how bad this person was to you or how good they were to you, if they live or if they die, you're connected to that person from now on, okay?
Yeah.
So that can be a happy connection that you can work on and develop and grow and be fulfilled, and that could be a miserable thing that just drives you crazy and makes you sick and you just want to die, right? It could be...
I'm happy. I go to university, to college, but sometimes I get upset. I don't know.
Well, I understand that, and I think that it's good that you have left that situation. I think that it's great that you left Iran. I think that it's great that you live in a country where women actually have a choice about whether or not they want to be married or divorced. You know, I mean, I understand that you can get a divorce in Iran, but it doesn't go so well for the women, right?
Yes.
It's in fact, it goes very badly for the women. It's from what I've heard. Yes. So you've made a good move in terms of that. You've given 30 years of your life to a relationship. You were betrayed by the person, or that relationship was betrayed by the person that you had that relationship with. The question is, here's the big question that you need to deal with. Do you want to heal that, forgive it, and move on with your life with the intention of growing beyond that? Or do you want to say, that's it, you broke the deal, I never want to have anything to do with you again, I'm finished? Because anything in between is going to be pretty painful. You can't stay in the middle.
Yes.
Right? That's what's bothering you. I think it's great that you're going to have an education. You should have an education. It'll bring some other purpose to your life. So that's great. So right now you've changed your environment. Have you been watching the show up until now?
Yeah.
So I don't know, I hope I didn't speak too quickly, but you've changed your environment. You've changed your behavior because now you're going to school, whereas before you didn't, right? And so you're increasing your capabilities because you're learning new things. What are you studying?
I'm medical office.
In a medical?
Office, secretary.
Like how to run a medical office. Okay, that's a capability or an ability that you didn't have before, and now you have that, yes?
Yeah.
Because you went and got that capability. But what has not changed for you, so you've done all the right steps in terms of changing the lower levels of your of change and transformation. Now you want to go to another level, and in that level you want to change your beliefs and values, yes? And so that means questioning your beliefs and values. You have to look at, what do I believe? What do I really believe? And so I'm going to offer you some things to look at, okay? Do you believe that a man and woman should stay together no matter what for the rest of their life because they said so? That's one belief, yes? And even if one of them does something terribly wrong, they should work it out and forgive each other and find a way to get past it. That's one belief, right? A lot of people have that belief and they live their life according to it. And that's a perfectly fine belief, yes? Do you believe, for example, that, I've given my 30 years of my life, my most fertile years, I've made 2 kids, I've raised them, I gave my best. This man went and cheated on me, let him go. I'm going to live my life for myself now and become somebody that I never discovered before and find a new purpose for my life. Up until now, my purpose has been to raise these children and make sure they went to college and had a good life. And I say to you, congratulations, you got your job done. They're in college, right?
Yeah.
They're good kids, right?
I miss my everything.
I understand that. And we can address that, okay?
Yes,
We can address
very,
that.
very long time.
Yes, you lived there all your life, so that's part of who you are. Is you are from Iran, and you're an Iranian, and that is your homeland, yes?
Yeah.
And listen, I have the same thing. I went and lived in France for 7 or 8 years, okay? I lived in France for 7 years and Tahiti for a year. Very nice environment.
Yeah.
Right? I lived in Paris. It was cool. I liked, right? And I lived in the south of France where there's beaches and the girls don't wear tops on their bikinis. I mean, I had lots of fun. It was a great life. However, it wasn't America. And I missed it. I missed America.
You sure?
And so even though I lived in a wonderful environment, something in me needed to be in this environment just so I could feel at home for a while. Now I go to those places for vacation.
Yeah.
Right? My advice to you is to examine, what is it that I truly believe here? Do I believe that and I realize I'm taking this thing about I miss being in Iran and I miss my environment, and I understand that, and I'm saying let's put that on the table for a moment. Okay? Let's put that on the table for a moment, because the truth is you could go live in Iran whether you're married or divorced, yes? You don't have to be married to him to go live in Iran. You could live in Iran part of the time and in Canada part of the time. That's true too, isn't it?
Yes.
I mean, if you wanted to, a lot of people do. They go back and forth between those two places. That's fine. You could do that if you wanted to. So that's why I'm saying take that for a moment and put it on the side. Okay? Now, if you were to follow your career here and that you're creating for yourself in Canada and develop your own financial stability and your own money,
Yeah.
and you were an independent woman so that you didn't have to go back and move into the house with the man. Now you have a choice. Stay married, don't stay married. Live in Iran, don't live in Iran. But it'll be a choice based on who you are, based on your true beliefs and values. What is your purpose in life? One of the things that has happened, because it happened to me, is that I have early in my life, I said my purpose is to this, right? I won't go into a whole elaborate thing, but I had a particular purpose that I wanted to fulfill in my life. Well, guess what? By the age of 50, 55, I had fulfilled that purpose, and now I needed a new one. You know what I mean? It's like I did that.
Yeah.
I did it very well, and it was very satisfying, but what I didn't notice was that I felt fulfilled, I felt happy, I felt great, but it was kind of like, now what? Yeah?
Yeah.
So I had to have a bigger purpose. Why would somebody, I had to ask myself, who had fulfilled that purpose, what would their life be about now? If it's not about money, if it's not about fame, if it's not about trying to make it or be somebody, what would I do with my life? What would I give this life for?
Yeah.
Like if I'm going to live another, I'm 58. I plan on living another 40 or 50 years at least. I'm fully capable of doing that. I'm extremely healthy, and I plan on living a long time, Well, 40 or 50 years ago, I couldn't even hardly ride a bicycle,
I know. I'm...
Now I can do a whole lot of stuff. Like, what would I do with all those talents and abilities for the rest of my life?
I'm 48 now.
Yeah. What are you going to give the next 40 years for?
Yeah.
The first 48 years, okay, that you did whatever you did. You raised some great kids. You were married to a guy. You lived a great life. Your kids are in college now. You probably got grandkids, or you're going to pretty soon. So you got your job done.
Yeah, sometimes I'm very happy and good. Sometimes I'm very depressed. I'm very sad. Yeah, I know.
So what is the spiritual purpose of your life now that you've lived that, right? And it may be being married, it may not. Listen, if he doesn't share the same spiritual purpose as you, then I don't recommend that you go back into your marriage. Do you understand? Because you will be absorbed by that old environment, those old behaviors and old beliefs and all. Listen, I'm not insulting anyone by saying there's a lot of limiting beliefs in Iran. People have some limiting beliefs and limiting behaviors. There's a way of being and beliefs that hold people back.
Yeah.
Okay, and I don't mean to insult any society. I mean, that's true in any society, but it's particularly true in Iran right now. It's a very closed world.
I know.
Yeah, and so I don't see why, particularly a woman, would want to go live there.
Good. Thank you. You helped me. Thank you.
And I don't mean to any insult to anybody, but I just don't know why you would want to go live there with a husband that had cheated on you after 30 years and raising his kid, when you have an opportunity to create a brand new purpose for your life and to live it fully.
Sure.
And have your own money and have your own life. Will you be lonely sometimes? Yes. Is there a possibility that you could meet somebody that brand new that could share your life with you? Yes. Is it possible that your husband would have a transformation in his own life because you left him and go, wow, that was the best thing I ever had was this woman. I'll do anything to get her back. I'm going to change myself. That's possible too, yes?
Sure.
However, I suspect that it's not very likely. What do you say?
Yeah.
What are the chances of your husband going, wow, you're the best thing that ever happened to me. I'm so sorry. That'll never, ever happen again. I've completely changed, and I want to spend the rest of my life with you, and I'll do whatever it takes, no matter what.
He is very angry man.
It's probably not going to happen.
Yeah.
So going back to that relationship and that country and that environment, guess what? What's going to happen to you?
It's not... I don't know. I don't know.
I know you don't.
Thank you. You helped
You're
me.
welcome.
Thank
All right.
you.
You're welcome. Thanks. Bye-bye. Hello, this is Gregory. You're live on the air. I've got about 3 minutes, and I hope that I can help you in that amount of time.
Thank you very much. Hi.
Yeah, hi.
My problem is I had my divorce about a year and a half ago, and as just the other lady said, I'm trying really to do the adjustment here, and it's not easy.
Yeah.
And I have children too, but I really want to know what should I do. With sometimes I do get depressed, and I really don't know where is the problem and what it should be to be done. I didn't do it. Like, I'm really trying my best here, but sometimes the best is not enough.
Well, I understand your question, and thank you for asking it so quickly like that. So I want to be able to help you. You know, how long were you married?
18 years.
Okay, that's like the death of a loved one. Okay, you get a divorce after 18 years. That's like somebody died.
Yes.
It really is. It's on the level of neurological disturbances and breakdowns. It's like the end of something there is a grieving period, okay? And just like if a brother or a sister or somebody close to you, parent died, there's a time period that you go through some grieving. So my suggestion to you is do not avoid the depression. Don't avoid the sad feelings. Don't avoid the despair. But actually, you know, my company's called Embrace Growth for a reason. Those things will cause you to grow if you can just allow them to be exactly like they are. I'm not talking about falling into depression and locking yourself in a room for 3 days or whatever people do. That's indulging in depression. Do you understand?
Yes.
There's a difference between indulging in your bad feelings and simply recognizing them, sharing them with others, crying when you need to,
yes.
being alone and quiet when you need to, going out and doing some things to have yourself feel better if you need to. In other words, but do it consciously, awake and aware. And those things those sad things will cause you to grow into, like I was talking about in the beginning of the show, a more sophisticated, a more refined, a more pure version of who you were in the past. And when we have a transformation, just like a diamond, just like when a piece of coal becomes a diamond, right? That new you can easily handle the pressure, the heat, and the circumstances that used to cause the old you to break down. Do you understand?
Yes.
Yeah, so whatever caused you to break down and feel sad and cry and feel small, allow those feelings to be consciously there so that you can experience the transformation, and you will, I promise you, become a more sophisticated, refined human being, and those things that used to like completely break you down it'll be like been there, done that.
So you're saying as the time passes,
yeah, there's a grieving period that you have to go through like anything else. It's like the death of a loved one, right? You don't just go out and party the next day.
No.
You don't go, well, they're dead, okay, let's go get another one. No, of course not. You honor your feelings about that. In other words, honor the feelings. They are a communication from your soul, your deepest identity, who you truly are, about something that's got to be healed inside, and so allow it to heal.
So you're saying, like one of my problem is I feel like it's my life is over. Like if I get a headache, I feel like it's going to be something important. I'm going to die the next day. Like this is one of the problem I have now. But you know what? I talked to my doctor and I take medication for that because he related to some kind of depression. But I want to, like everybody says you're strong and this and that.
Yeah.
But I want to know, as time passes, these things, it will get better?
Yes, and I'm not a medical doctor, so I'm not giving you medical advice, but I highly recommend that you be with your emotions rather than medicate yourself so that you can't feel them. In my opinion, that's the worst possible thing that you could do. Okay? That's like if you had a door that closed on your finger, but your hand was numb so you can't feel it. You're going to damage your hand. Yes?
Yes.
You need to feel the feelings so that you can pull your hand out of the way and learn the lesson.
Yes.
Yeah? If you numbed your hand and then stuck it on a hot stove, is that good for you?
No.
No, you need to feel those feelings so that your body, your neurology knows what to do. But you will never get in touch with your own infinite wisdom and ability to heal yourself, which is what you really want, if you cut off the feelings by taking medication. It's like if the smoke alarm went off in your house and you just put a pillow over it so you couldn't hear it. What if there's smoke in the house and that means there's a fire? My recommendation is be with the feelings. Don't medicate yourself so that you don't feel them. I'm not giving you medical advice. Listen to your doctor if you think that that's the right thing to do. But I personally say that you should embrace those feelings. I've never taken any of those kind of medications, and I promise you, I've had a lot more severe things than just one divorce in my life, okay? And I've grown and developed from it and become more sophisticated.
Yeah.
Those things wouldn't bother me anymore, okay? So I'm at the end of the show. I appreciate your calling me, and I thanks for watching my show, and I got to wrap it up, okay?
Yes,
I
thank
hope
you,
that
sir.
helped, yeah. Thank you for watching. You've been watching Love Talk. My name is Gregory Morgan. You can find out all about us at embracegrowth.com, and I'll see you back here next week.
برنده بودن هنری است که یادگیری آن تمامی زندگی ما را تحت الشعاع قرار می‌دهد و زندگی عادی را به خارق‌العاده تبدیل می‌کند. صرفاً رسیدن به اهداف و خواسته ها منجر به شادی و رضایت نمی شود. برندگان زندگانی می کنند. هنر برنده بودن. سمیناری فارسی توسط خانم دکتر آزیتا سایان. 4 مارس ساعت 7:30 عصر در وارنر سنتر مریت وودلند هیلز. بلیط های خود را همین الان از وبسایت و یا اپلیکیشن امبریس گروت تهیه بفرمایید و یا با شماره 310 460 2600 تماس بگیرید. اپلیکیشن امبریس گرو. با ساختن اکانت شخصی شما می توانید وارد پروفایل خود شده و تنظیمات آن را تغییر دهید. به تمامی رویدادها و محصولات دسترسی داشته باشید. با چند کلیک برای سمینارها و کارگاه‌ها ثبت نام کنید و یا وقت مشاوره خود را رزرو نمایید. اپلیکیشن امبریس گروت را امروز از اپ استور دانلود کنید و به خانواده جهانی امبریس گروت بپیوندید. یک مرد منحصر به فرد، مسلط، متمرکز، قابل اعتماد و رضایتمند باشید. کارگاه شرافت، عزت کلام و مهارت به رهبری دکتر آزیتا سایان. لس آنجلس 13 تا 15 مارچ، تورنتو 16 تا 18 اکتبر و ایروان ارمنستان 5 تا 7 نوامبر. برای اطلاعات بیشتر با شماره 310 460 2600 تماس بگیرید. در کارگاه‌های آموزشی بانوان به رهبری دکتر آزیتا سایان خود واقعیتان و همچنین مردان را بشناسید و با استفاده از قدرت زنانه خود روابطی سالم و عاشقانه بسازید. همبورگ 28 فوریه تا اول مارچ، لس آنجلس 17 تا 19 آپریل، تورنتو 26 تا 28 جون و ایروان ارمنستان 6 تا 8 آگوست برگزار خواهد شد. 310 460 2600 embracegrowth.com